Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fine.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what happened yesterday. I've definitely seen like reversals and wild unexpected things in the market, but that jolting of a reversal in a situation where it just seemed completely unexpected. I've never seen anything like that. There's a lot going on, like lots of theories, but I don't really think any of them make sense. But we will try to sort it out here. Hold on, I am not getting my music. Forgot to turn on voice meter. There we go. All right, to the charts. Natural gas rolling over. Okay, so on Thursday, we had, on Wednesday rather. On Wednesday, we had NVIDIA earnings. And so we had a pretty big overnight move. And then on the open and during the time period that we were watching, we had a pretty good upside. But then after we left, it just, oh man, gooders. They just got completely dumped. Ended at the lows of the day. Really wild. Now, one thing that did happen is people were saying, well, maybe it's because they're not expecting rate cuts anymore. Well, so the Treasuries are doing some weird stuff. The probability that the Federal Reserve cuts rates in December as priced by like the SOFRs and the short-term instruments, the probability has gone down. So you would expect to see the Treasuries selling. And in fact, there was an initial sell off of the jobs numbers that we saw yesterday in the Treasuries. But then they just kept buying. And overnight, you're starting to see some wild stuff. Like, look, we have easily just absolutely destroyed the range that we've been in for the past like week and a half. There's still this really key like downturn area, but like, look, we closed all of the single prints. So like the next kind of line is 18.5. That's pretty wild, right? Oil also getting absolutely destroyed. Although I think that this downturn in oil might have more to do with expectations that we may actually get a peace deal in Ukraine. Okay, gold and silver aren't jumping either. No, that's kind of interesting. Copper actually down. Japanese yen. Okay, so there was a lot of job owning. Like the Japanese yen has been getting dire. I do wonder if to some extent what we saw yesterday was due to what's going on in the yen. But if that is the case, it's not because of any correlation or anything like that. It has to be like somebody big is having to sell their equities because of what's happening in the yen. And ergo, we might see that behavior later. Like maybe they're selling their equities and now you're going to see some big movement into the yen today to pay off those loans. But this move up, I don't think that that's quite what that was. There was just a lot of job owning and discussion over there because it's getting kind of fraught and they're pushing out a stimulus package that even when they're kind of having issues with inflation, but that job owning overnight seems to have pushed the Japanese yen up. And then Bitcoin, ooh, mama. It just keeps going down in Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been cited recently. I'll come over here so you can see me now. Bitcoin has been cited a lot recently as a proxy for risk. Like, this really shows what people's risk appetite is. And so maybe Bitcoin is declining because people's risk appetite is leaving. But I don't think that really explains the veracity of the downside in Bitcoin. I really think when I think about Bitcoin, like, there hasn't been a whole lot of retail participation in Bitcoin. You go and you look at, like, people searching for Bitcoin, talking about Bitcoin, that sort of stuff. It's just not there this cycle. It hasn't been for a really, really long time. Really, ever since that cycle where Dogecoin took off. And then I feel like everybody was sick of it after that. And the decline maybe started with there's not really anything going on here, and then risk appetite is leaving, but it just keeps going. And I think that especially the time of year, we tend to start selling in Bitcoin. Like, usually between Halloween and Thanksgiving, weird things will start happening in Bitcoin. And I can remember several times around Thanksgiving keeping a close eye on Bitcoin because there was big sells and buys around it. But it seems to me that there's like a lot of profit taking and like, reconciling financials and everything. Like, think about if you are a big miner, right? And you are going to keep everything. You don't want to keep your Bitcoin, as much of it as you can, because, you make money just holding the Bitcoin, and selling it kind of depresses price. But then at the end of the year, bills come due. And we're getting to a point now where the price is so low relative to what it was earlier in the year, and the cost for mining it is as high as it's ever been, right? So I think that we may be in the beginning of another minor liquidation event where a good portion of the miners in the Bitcoin ecosystem don't make it. That could be at play. I also wonder, one of the things that happened yesterday was Fed's Cook was talking, and she made a note about private credit, saying, yeah, it is something that we need to keep an eye on. It's a risk or whatever. But like, why is private credit having as much of a problem as it is? And I kind of wonder if maybe people were taking out private credit and buying Bitcoin with it. Is that like I mean, I think that that's a really crazy, I haven't heard anybody say anything like that. I'm just like throwing wild ideas out there, right? So I don't know how realistic of a theory that is, but it's just like one thing I'm going to be kind of looking for out there is there maybe a connection between private credit and Bitcoin? I don't think, one thing is that people will think, well, Nvidia and Bitcoin, that can be a problem. But I don't really think very much of the Bitcoin ecosystem is driven by GPUs anymore. Like, all of the people that are mining that are using ASICs. And that whole thing really kind of it just became a lot less popular after the last run. So I don't think it's that, but we'll see. Nvidia has been down. I really think when I look at like the float, so one thing we really should point out here, like I think is probably really key and perhaps tells us a lot about maybe where things going. If we come back over here, or I mean, what's going on? They were selling during this whole rise. Do you see that? Like this first little bit was a big sell, and then they really sold it. So this was somebody that was going to sell yesterday no matter what, I think. This was probably a more passive flow. Now, we do have some pretty major passive flows to think about right now, because we have a really, really big gamma expiration. So there's definitely some stuff with the options to look at. And all of the CTA momentum strategies are still short and probably still continue to sell. But I don't think that those two together can account for that whole decline. You know? That's where I'm like, well, if the Bank of Japan was selling assets or some really big player was liquidating the stocks portion of a carry trade, that would maybe make more sense. You know? That could maybe account for it all. All those three things together, all selling. Maybe that could cause a reversal like that, because it was really just quite a crazy downside. Well, anyways, I switched over to my financial juice, and all of the alerts that had gone off when the tab wasn't open went off and scared me. So we do have US S&P Services PMI flash at 745. You know, we get services, manufacturing, and composite. That one is usually, the S&P one is usually not as huge of a deal, but still, we're going to want to keep an eye on it. We have a bunch of Fed speakers today. Again, Barr, Jefferson, Logan, Collins. And then University of Michigan, Propaganda Sentiment Index. So we do have a few things going on today, but probably not enough. I think that we should expect to see relatively high amount of volatility in the treasuries today. Actually, let's come over here and look. Yeah, okay. So we probably got that bug again. Let's see, what did it do? Oh, an item with that same key has already been added. Oh, we need to turn that off. Imbalances in my DOM are why are you bringing that up? Once again, not having my, yeah, that's so weird. You know, so another thought that I had was like, well, maybe it's because Uzi like bought a ton of stocks yesterday or something. But I don't remember seeing you yesterday, so it can't be that. Yeah, let's see what it does. It comes in here. Yeah, so it does seem to me it has something to do with like if I have NinjaTrader open at the crossover, then it does it. I guess I need to just put a statement in there so that when that happens, it doesn't crash the indicator. But no. I what you talked about the indicator error, and then since you were here, I thought I would bring that part up. I'd like to run that variancing on all 4 treasuries. Oh yeah, you know, there's at least one change I probably need to make on it for you to use it on all 4 treasuries. But what was I saying? I was just talking about being sick. I think that the kids got me sick, and because they've been sick. My wife has been sick. I am just kind of like, I've got a lot of stuff that has to clear out in the morning, and then I'm fine. But I think that because I'm allergic to literally everything, that I just have a really overactive immune system and kills those sorts of things quickly. All right, let's fix this over here. I also think that I need to change the name of it. Maybe it should just be called Daily Volatility Levels. You can have daily volatility levels. I can have a check mark to mark levels at start of session, and another one to mark levels at specified time. And then the other one can be intraday volatility levels or something like that. Yeah, maybe that would make more sense to people, because I think that some of the indicators do not have super marketable names. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think people understand what it is and all of that. How is your Rust project going? It was good. So earlier in the week, I did a little bit of refactoring and some drawing logic. This was mostly like vibe coding. Should I call it vibe coding? I was using anti-gravity to do it. I think that I have like the base of the project with like the different libraries that are needed and all of that stuff working together, that you have a framework that the robots can work in pretty effectively. So that's I was really happy about that. And it was also kind of got me to, you know, the main sort of features or issues that I've been focused on. Like this whole month has basically been custom rendering, essentially, right? GUI and custom rendering, proof of concept. We've finally proven that it can be done in Rust with the frameworks that are available right now. Yeah, anti-gravity, the new IDE from Google, yeah. And the Python part works. We've tested the Python part. So the next, there's kind of like maybe some next steps, right? There is certainly more that I could do on the drawing, right? Like right now it just draws 2 squares, and we could make it draw a whole chart, right? And then start working on things like zoom and scrolling and stuff like that, because those are probably going to be pretty complicated parts of it. There is also lots of little features everywhere that we can do. But I think that the thing that I want to do right now is I want to get it actually loading real data. So I'm not sure how I want to do that, but I suppose one thing is I could try talking to the DX feed people again, because I got like a really good response from them at first, and then like they never responded back again after that, and I don't know what's going on over there. But, you know, because I pay for the data, but I just got to be sure that they're going to give me access to enough of their back-end documentation and stuff that I'll be able to connect to it, you know. Although for that one, it may just be writing a Rust wrapper around a C++ library, right? So I'm kind of thinking we get the data coming in, and then we can do more with things like drawing logic and stuff. But it's coming along, like a couple more months like this. And I think that we could have something very much like, here's proof of main value proposition to get somebody to invest in it, perhaps. Did you see? I did, but everybody trashed it, man. You know, something that is kind of grating on me right now is that the smart money concepts world has essentially collapsed. And a lot of retail traders are, as a result, shifting over to order flow. And they're kind of bringing all of the junk education with them. So there's all of these influencers and stuff, and these Italian guys, I'm not really familiar with their content or anything like that. There's a group of people that seem to really like them. But when the platform was released, everybody was basically, oh, it's this one platform, but just with maybe their own little slight changes and stuff. I didn't really see anything in there that was really unique or really made it better or special compared to other platforms. And it was pretty expensive compared to other platforms too. So, you know, everybody, especially on Reddit, it really got labeled as a cash grab platform. I really think most people are using Sierra Charts, ATAS, or NinjaTrader, and anyways, let me get in here on this code and let me try and find. I do, in fact, have an output here. And it's all happening with an on-state change, huh? Which is during import volatility. Okay, well, so I don't know why, but I'm just gonna put in here, try. Have you created a list of functional? Yes, I have a very, very long list of things that I'd like to include. So one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot with, with everything really, is what is the moat? What is the moat? You know? What is the thing that I've done and my business can do that another business can't? Right? So when it comes to the NinjaTrader indicators, well, I feel like that the mode is kind of is a little flimsy. Like, I think that if a company, like if NinjaTrader said, we want you to create all of Seth's indicators, you know, and include them in default into the platform, I think that they could do it, right? Like, the moat is basically, there's nobody else in this space. There's not other retail traders or programmers that can duplicate these things, right? I can, you know, because I look at all of these other like NinjaTrader packages and stuff, and I'm not really interested in the features that they have, but I have yet to see something that I wasn't like, yeah, I could make that easy. I could duplicate that easy. And that's what I was kind of getting at with the platform thing, is that I'm seeing a lot of people put out different indicators and or platform kind of features and charging a ton for them, when I really don't think that they're worth that much. You know? Like, they'll go and they'll create an Ishimoku whatever kind of a chart. And it's like, yeah, there's lots of little things that you can put in there and little features that you can put in there, but none of those are hard to make. None of those are hard to make. No moat. I could copy them. Okay. But when we're making a platform, you're a different game, right? Because now you're competing with NinjaTrader, essentially. And there are some things that, you know, at first I would be intentionally not competing with, right? Like, I would very much want the thing to cooperate and play nice with Jigsaw, because I'm not intending on building my own DOM anytime remotely soon. It's really the main driving motivation here is to have something that deals with the order flow data and caching it by default, and allows me to hook into machine learning models with Python. That's like the main motivating factor. And we could plug that into even NinjaTrader. That's another thing, is that it could make some of the back end parts so that it could just connect. It could just talk with a socket. They just talk with a socket, and then you would add the thing into NinjaTrader so that then they would talk. Because you can kind of do that Python anyways. But then this way you'd get kind of like the whole ecosystem. Anyways, that could be something that we could do that could like entice people, right? Like, well, you get this platform. Yeah, it does the charts and everything, but maybe I don't want to use that part yet. But I can run it in headless mode so that I have all the Python stuff and then still use NinjaTrader. That could be interesting, right? Some of those features I think are hard to duplicate. But I think that it is more a function of the other platforms maybe just being lazy. You know what I mean? Like, if I come along and I make my platform, and by default it comes with some machine learning models that people find really, really useful, well, then what's going to happen is NinjaTrader is going to say, oh, we need to include those things too. And then they would have to deal with all of those issues. Okay, maybe we do need to just update our entire framework to the latest version of .NET. And just, people will have to deal with it. That could be one way of doing it. Or they could say, I'm going to have my own library or set of models built into NinjaTrader that you can use. They might do that. You know, like there's lots of different ways that they could do it. I don't think that it would be quite as good as my platform, but I think that it would be hard to compete with. You know what I mean? So there's issues with the moat, and how would you get anybody to invest in a platform like that with those kinds of risks to the business? It doesn't make sense. If it's bootstrapped, I've made it from scratch, I'm selling it, I'm using all of the profits from my existing business to develop it, and I don't bring in any outside investment, then maybe it can make it work. So that's kind of a disappointing discovery on my side, is that basically I think that the best thing is to bootstrap it, which means I've got to keep working on it and get it to the point where we can sell it. And I need to sell the NinjaTrader indicators too. I had somebody earlier this week, they got the package, and I had changed the download and I didn't change the link in the email message. So they're like, oh, that link doesn't work. And I was like, oh my gosh. But then I go in, and it's the same thing, like the funnel for the indicators. Like, people do not follow the funnel the way that I think they're going to. I think that they watch the YouTube video, they go to the website, and they click buy now, and they buy it, like, straight up. Because I thought that people would download and try it first and say, oh, I've been using it for 2 weeks, I find these really, really useful, now I'm going to buy it, right? In fact, honestly, I would prefer that people do that, because that says to me, people are using it, finding it useful. Because I don't want to be the person that just takes every sale that you can get, and, you know, some people are unhappy with it, but what are they going to do, sort of a thing. I think that happens in trading a lot. The people, they'll buy a training program or a bunch of different things, and then find like, wow, this didn't really help me at all, and I kind of regret paying for it. You know? No, I want it to be that they're absolutely positive that this is something that they feel they need to have, that is going to help their workflow, because they've been using it. You know, I would prefer that, right? So, but I think that lately I have been having some revelations and an understanding of where we've had some issues, right? Like one of the things is that a lot of the content that I made was price action is stupid. And that is the correct thing. Price action is stupid. Now that we're seeing people coming over into the order flow space, right? The answer is not to come in and say the footprint is stupid, right? Because then you're just trashing on their tool and they're not going to like you. So with these next ones, I think that really what we have to say is like, here's the one thing people get wrong with the footprint chart. What's the one thing that people get wrong with the footprint chart? Well, most proven predictive order flow signals are extremely short term, are extremely short time frame. And you're simply not going to see them on a footprint chart that's like a 30-minute footprint chart, or even a 5-minute footprint chart. And there are some mesosphere level signals, right? Like that there tends to be high autocorrelation with regards to the sign of market orders, whether they're market buy or market sell. But you're not going to see that in the footprint chart, because the footprint chart is more about an imbalance at a specific price. And this high correlation is just going to be a persistent correlation over time across multiple prices. So you're not going to see that one. So if you're going to use the footprint chart, you really kind of have to use it more as a like, you know, what happened? Was there absorption here, or the, you know, what kind of happened in this move? What happened in this specific area? And not necessarily try and use it like technical analysis where, you know, when I see this set of conditions and this set of conditions, I take a trade. Right? Okay. I think if I put it that way, somebody that's using the footprint chart isn't going to go, oh, Seth just totally trashed all over the footprint chart and I don't like him. No, he's going to go, okay, I really like the footprint chart and use the footprint chart, and Seth just gave me really key information that I need to be able to use the footprint chart more effectively, right? And I think that is probably a better approach to things, because ultimately, you know, the thing that's really difficult with about my job specifically, because what is Seth's job specifically? Seth's job is to teach people and help them understand the market better, right? And the issue with my job is that in order for you to understand the market and to get good at these things, you need to adopt an empirical approach. Investigate the data, learn how to test things with data, and prove it with empirical evidence. But that is not the way that most people work. If you immediately go to the empirical evidence, like naturally, you're autistic, like straight up. You only understand that you need to go to the empirical evidence once you've been trained, like you've gone through a university education. And I honestly don't know if there's that many people. I kind of wonder. I think that the number of people that graduated from a university in the day trader community might be less, to be honest with you, because you know, if you're trading, you're probably weren't the person that worked as hard as possible to go to the Ivy League school and then get into the big institution and all of those sorts of things, right? Because then you wouldn't be trading. You'd be trading for a financial institution or something like that, right? No, but most of us are, you know, we screwed up somewhere, right? So what I have to do is I kind of have to latch onto the more common ways that people are convinced, right? And trashing something that they already like and have already kind of decided this is the thing and that I'm interested in does not improve your credibility with them, right? I use footprint more as a volume distribution tool than a imbalanced spotter, contrary to its popular use case. Yeah. Well, I mean, more broadly, I am kind of against, well, I'll call it technical analysis, but basically the idea that you look at a chart and you see some sort of a pattern on the chart, like a higher high, you know, like people will put cumulative delta on the chart, and then we'll see, was there a higher high in cumulative delta, right? That's like applying technical analysis to order flow. And I don't think that it works. I think that any signal like that you can actually see on the chart that would have edge would get arbitraged away really quickly. Right? So that doesn't mean the tools are useless though, right? It's just like, I think that the signals, the setups are probably not helping you, but the tools and what you can learn about the market from the tools can be incredibly useful, right? And your setup is just going to be something else. Like for me, my setup is always, well, I would prefer at least to be something to do with informational inefficiency. something that I know that I don't think everybody else does. That's my setup. And all of these other things are kind of context to help me understand when that setup is happening. You know? It's like the car allegory. You have, you know, your spouse is worried where you're going to go. So they are tracking your phone. And if they're trying to predict where you're going to be when you're driving in the car, using only the GPS coordinates, it's going to be really hard to predict where you're going to be, because you could get stuck behind a car that's going slow. There could be a traffic jam. And since they don't know where you're going, like you could turn anywhere. And yeah, there's like specific intersections that you might turn at, but which intersection are you going to turn at? And there's multiple paths for you to get there, right? But if you told them where you're going, then you can make really, really effective predictions. And if you say that you're going to the store and the store is north of your house and you start out turning south, then they're immediately going to know that you're not going to the store, right? And there's the setup. But the setup is, I know that they're going to the store and they made a turn that shows that they're absolutely not, right? So informational inefficiency is required for the setup. But that doesn't mean that the GPS data was useless, right? You still needed the GPS data. It's just the GPS data wasn't necessarily the setup, you know? Nah, I don't know. I don't know how to teach people that. But you know, I think I have a couple of ideas that I really think will help. Because really, when it comes to day trading, the issue is gaining people's trust. You know, like everybody has gone to some guru and learned all of this stuff from them, and then later found out that it was all nonsense, right? And coming in and saying, well, you can trust us because we have empirical evidence, like, doesn't work for most people, right? So I think that the way that I have to approach that instead is, well, I'm actually trading here. I know what it's like to actually trade. And I can talk about being a real trader in a way that few others can. In a way that, you know, because a lot of these people, they come in and they'll say, oh, I've made so much money and you should follow me for this and this. And I think one of the reasons why people kind of catch on to them and start to doubt them is because over time they realize that they just don't they just don't see themselves in that guru, because that guru just doesn't have that trader mentality, you know? All of a sudden they're like, nah, this person is acting more like a YouTube influencer than they are a trader, right? There's this one girl in particular that really got popular for a while, and she seems to have a lot of credibility problems and is constantly complaining, like, why don't you think that I'm a trader? Like, is it because I'm a woman or something like that? But no, it's because the way that you talk about it is just like, you're not trading. Like, you come in and say, well, I'm a trader. Like, look, here's this one trade that I made. Well, if you've really done this, you will realize that everybody catches a big one, right? So I haven't gotten as far on writing. So yesterday I was writing this because I had this video idea that was like, well, okay, so if there's order flow stuff, we should put out some more order flow content, and we can kind of talk about some of the fallacies that people are getting. So we have a lot of content about like what you should do. And when I started writing it out, I'm it didn't take very long before I was like, nah, this isn't one video. This is like 8 videos. Right. And then you know, I started talking about it with ChatGPT, and they kind of talked about it narratively. It made a lot of sense, where instead of just packing as much dense information as possible into it, it would be better to split them up and create more room for narrative content, and that people would probably understand the content better and be attracted to that content more. Overall, it's just better for everybody, but do it that way. So again, that's a space where it's like, I think that we're making some, we'll see how these next videos do, but I think that we're making some changes that will fix some of those problems, right? And hopefully we do that, we get the YouTube channel a little bit bigger, and we bring in more revenue through people buying the NinjaTrader indicators and things like that. And then that will give us money that we can put into the platform, and then to create and promote the platform. But I think that we're going to have to bootstrap it. So, and all through that, at some point, I will have to get another day job. Tough market, tough labor market right now, for sure. And I think probably going to continue to be really bad until maybe next year. Especially if the stock market just like completely collapses here. But you know what? I think, well, we got like what, 5 minutes till the open. I suspect that they might retrace a lot of that from yesterday and end the week in an okay spot. But we should come in and check the gamma. Because gamma might be one of the major factors here, where like as we move down, they have to sell it a lot. 6,500. $6,600. Yeah. I think that they are going to want to get above 6,600 and end the week there. And that would probably be more conducive to where the options are. Let's also check. What are these volatility charts? Oh, that's cool. I think we need to just go to the CME. Logged in. Oh, there we go. Well, there's more open interest at 6,500 or so. Isn't there a chart that's just kind of shows it to you with colors? How do I get to that one? So maybe 6,600, but I don't know if I can make that case super strongly with the this strikes. Did you turn into a vibe coder since Singularity? I mean, no. The thing is I find the AIs really, really useful. I don't know. The issue is very much the term vibe coder, right? Because remember, the person that invented the term vibe coder, kind of trying to fix my microphone here so that you see more of my face. The person that invented the term vibe coder, what he was saying was just come in and turn off all of the controls, like auto accept everything that it gives you, and then if it comes back with something that doesn't work, you just tell it what doesn't work and have it fix it, right? And I do not find that to be very effective, honestly. The vibe coding path is, I feel, just created to make you waste tokens, is what that's about. You use tons of tokens, and so they like it, but I don't think it's the most effective way to do it. I come in and I make all of the big decisions. I do the important stuff and create a framework and an ecosystem for the large language model to work in. And I can use the LLM to collect information and bounce ideas off of and kind of plan those things. And then we'll use the LLM to make plans, right? And then you get a really great prompt. So one of the things with anti-gravity is it really helps to, like, here's all of the context and background information that the large language model is going to be, and then at the very end, this is what I want you to do, and be very specific about what it is that you want it to do. And that's where Gemini rather, like, really excels. Is it will do exactly the thing that you ask it to. Whereas the other ones kind of seem to be like a little bit more open-ended. You tell it what you want at the beginning, and then give it all of this background information, and it, you know, is kind of good at resolving the ambiguity in what you're asking it. Right? Really, I think that really, like, what it comes down to is Gemini was designed more as for a experienced developer. This is what I think it really comes down to. Okay, so my new squawk is telling me that NVIDIA is doing well here on the outset. Well, I don't know. Do I really want to put myself on the docket here? I don't feel super strongly about it because I don't necessarily have flows other than sentiment and so forth. But I think that today is either going to be a little bit of a recovery rally or back and forth. On the vibe coding question, the other thing is with my trading platform, the LLMs are just really terrible at writing Rust code, I've found. So I got a lot of help from them, but they didn't really write very much of the code at all. It was kind of more I wrote the code and then they helped me understand the things about the frameworks and the code and all of that that I didn't understand and wasn't really in documentation, you know? But I certainly wouldn't, you know, if 10 years, you know, the platform is a big success and I'm like a multimillionaire from creating my own platform on my own. And then people will say, wow, Seth, so you're one of those people that became a millionaire from vibe coding. And I would definitely say no. That's not what happened. That this is bespoke software that very much benefited from having an engineer that looked at it deeply and understood it. Financial Juice is just giving me the play-by-play on NVIDIA. Certainly, that's where most people have their eyes focused right now is NVIDIA, huh? There we go. Iceberg 65, 70. Okay. Could maybe put a stop order at 74. See what happens.
Block sell.
Okay. So that might be a, well, I mean, the equities did kind of turn up there, but that makes me want to buy ES. Big block sell there in the treasury at 0.5 half. This idiot that keeps posting stuff in the order flow trading subreddit that has nothing to do with order flow. How do you use the DOM? Are you looking at the market orders? So I think the thing that I am primarily watching is when we tick up or down, how many contracts did it take? And then it ticks down. And then, you know, usually it doesn't just tick down and then tick down again. Usually it ticks down and then it ticks back up and then it ticks down again. And each time that it does that, how many contracts did it take to go each way? And then the next thing would be, do I see reactions? Like if a bunch of volume hit a spot or a certain level was cleared, do I see the limit orders react to it? So it really is more about a dance between the market orders and the limit orders. You use Rhythmic. Did you notice a loss on data around? No, didn't notice anything weird. I bought a new gaming computer and wondering if it's me. Well, it could just be a little hitch, and it might not be your computer. So in this case, there was a big 3,500 sell order at 05 half, and they've pulled it back. So I kind of thought that they decided equities is going gangbusters, but it's backed off. Now, I think though the next thing you got to understand about order flow is that signals are very, very short term. So that 3,500 is maybe not even relevant anymore. It's kind of like it happened and then nothing happened, and that was the thing. And now what does that mean about next? I don't know if it means anything. I think, you know, one way of putting it is the things that you see on order flow are more about getting an optimal entry and short-term play-by-play things, rather than, you know, I see some sort of a pattern and then that gives me a trade that's going to last for. What's up with me being number 3? I think that it has to do with, oh, I don't know actually. Is it like since they rolled out that feature? I'm not sure. The super, yeah, the thing that like puts a little crown next to their name. Because I for some reason thought when you asked that, my first thought was, oh, well, because it's just by this session. But maybe the reason I thought that was because, you know, when it started, that's the way it was. That makes sense. It's per day. Okay, that's what I thought it was. But if it's per day, then how did live action become number 1? Because he hasn't made the most comments today. Probably the most comments today would be Big Toasty. And he is 3. Also, you can turn it off. Oh. I really wish that YouTube did more audience interaction features the way that Twitch did, where like, you know, watching and commenting and liking causes, like it gives you bits, and then you can use the bits to put a more prominent message out, or, you know, things like that. In YouTube, you can do start a Q&A and start a poll, and that's just kind of like the Q&A one doesn't make sense to me. Like, well, if people have a question, don't they just put it in chat? I guess maybe it might make sense if you're like a big stream. Whatever. Rick Scott unveils Obamacare subsidy alternative. The goal, he said, is not to dismantle Obamacare, but to redirect federal subsidies to individuals, not insurance companies, to decide how best to use them. Yeah, but if you give it to individuals and then they give it to the insurance company, what's the difference? Good grief. Oh, I totally missed the news there. S&P Services PMI flash 54.6 versus 54.8. That's a miss, but like splitting hairs. Manufacturing PMI flash 52 versus 52.5. So that's a miss. I would probably see the treasuries move up, but only teeny tiny bit. Like from 06 to 08, that could totally be in line with the services. Now at the top of the hour, we get the University of Michigan. I find that the market tends to react pretty heavily to that. Oh wait, did I not? Maybe I'm not getting the number. Maybe that was the previous. It was. I had to refresh. Services was 55 versus 54.6, and manufacturing was 51.9 versus 52. Which that's so close that that's basically in line, and that's the manufacturing side. That's actually kind of strong. I would say you were splitting hairs, but that's actually maybe a little bit of a sell. But I don't think that they're going to do anything. They're going to wait for the University of Michigan number, which is complete BS and made up now at this point, but the market still seems to care. So. Yeah, one of the narratives that I heard yesterday though was the Federal Reserve is not going to cut in December, and the market's reacting to that. But the market pricing was already they're not going to cut, and the 10-year Treasury is not shifting. So like, what's that about? I'm way too ADHD when the shirt cuffs don't like want to fold over just perfect. It's not too bad, but it just bothers me. Like, it doesn't feel right. Is that a nice scalping? Wow. I suppose. If all you care about is movement. I don't see how you really make heads or tails of what it's going to do here. I mean, really, if everybody is confused about why it behaved the way that it did yesterday, why would we be able to predict what it's going to do today? Republicans pour cold water on Trump's $2,000 check proposal. I am convinced that the $2,000 check proposal is basically a bribe to vote for Republicans in the midterms. Like, you would want to keep Republicans in charge, and you would want to the Supreme Court case on the tariffs, you would definitely want the Supreme Court to rule in Trump's favor on that. Otherwise, you're not getting your $2,000, right? Or what if by the time that court case gets resolved, they've already given us the $2,000, and then what? Everybody's going to have to give the $2,000 back? Like, that's not right. That would make it a very politically tenuous decision for the Supreme Court, right? And I think that's why he's doing it. It's just a pure cynical political play. Like, I am not seeing like long-term strategic thinking on policy in the way that we maybe had for tariffs on literally anything else. And I think that's why Trump seems to be struggling amongst his base now. Did Trump already say something about the Epstein file? I don't know, but he did say it's happening. My gosh, that whole thing, I think it's all so silly, because I am convinced that we pretty much already know. Like even, okay, so like Larry Summers, I guess that was kind of a revelation this week, right? But we knew that Larry Summers talked to him before. So like, I don't know. I'm people seem to think that it's going to lead to some huge revelation that's going to put somebody else in jail. And I really don't think that it is. I believe the court when the court says that there's a good reason that it's sealed and that it protects the victims and it protects the court process, and that there's nothing that the public is really going to gain from them being released. So, but I seem to be the only person that believes them. I'm the only person on the internet that believes them. So what are we seeing on the internet? Well, I saw one group of people were saying, well, now there's going to be an attempted government coup before they release the files. That is what they're going to do. Is they're trying to overthrow the government to prevent the files from being released. That's pretty crazy theory, right? People are saying pretty crazy stuff. Okay, who is Bubba? Oh my gosh, this whole thing is so the people's initial reaction to that also had me kind of like, what? So what he's talking about, what he's talking about is there was in the Epstein emails that have come out recently, them talking about Trump like giving fellatio to Bubba or something like that. And so everybody kind of assumed that that was Bill Clinton. But first of all, like the way that they were talking and everything, I don't think that was necessarily meant to be like, this is a thing that happened. As it's probably just them joking around, like some inside joke or something like that, right? And there was also this talk about that it was the horse. So I don't know, but I really don't think much of it. I'm kind of like, why should we trust anything that Epstein was saying at the time? Like, we know he was kind of Democrat. He hated Trump. He was like openly working with journalists and other people on how to destroy Trump. So why would I trust him about something he says that Trump did at the time? If he actually had something like that, why didn't he put it out? It just doesn't. The whole thing just doesn't make sense to me. The only kind of like internet theory that I see out there that I think fits in here and makes sense is that Epstein was part of a foreign intelligence gathering operation. I think that's we don't have a whole lot of proof for that. Maybe some circumstantial coincidences, but I think that it's very likely then that's a major part of why they want to keep the records sealed, and they're kind of everybody's being cagey around it. Like, Biden didn't do anything when it was Biden, and Biden was like, yeah, this is dumb, let's ignore it. And that's when the Republicans were all, uppity about it. And then when Trump took over, it's flipped over, and the Democrats are the ones that want it released. And it's just so funny to me to watch this back and forth on it. I think that it's because there's a foreign intelligence gathering operation, and Trump made some promise to somebody that he wouldn't release it. And then when it started to become a political issue, he started complaining, saying like, look, this isn't worth it politically. It's going to really hurt us. Please just let me release it. And so that foreign entity relented and said, okay, fine, you can do it. And that's why we're getting it now. I really think that's what, like, if there's anything that we learn in there, I think it's going to be that it was a foreign intelligence gathering operation. And if not, then it's probably going to be like the biggest nothing burger ever. And then everybody's going to be really, really upset that there's not really anything significant in them. 2 minutes for the Michigan number. Jesse Tinsley on LinkedIn. Employees working multiple jobs secretly just died. Sorry, Reddit /overemployed. Today's Main Street launched Know Your Employee. KYE. The first real-time employment fraud detection across companies. If someone's secretly working 2 full-time jobs, we know instantly. This changes everything for employers, and the employees left picking up the slack for their coworkers taking advantage of them. Excited to share more soon. Right now we're in private beta, but the early results are amazing. If you're interested in learning more but not burning money on employees who work there for 3 months and get fired while draining your run rate, drop us a note to join our waitlist. Anything classified or open investigation will be excluded anyway. No, I don't, because we already have those documents, right? Like, we already have declassified documents. I do think that they will probably redact victim names, but that would probably be it. I could be wrong. If it comes out and there's like whole documents that the whole thing is blacked out and that sort of a thing, then obviously people will be pissed again, right? And then they'll be talking about, you know, how this could potentially be about Trump and 2-hour rant about how bad C++ is. I'm almost tempted to watch that. I've kind of been thinking lately, if I were to go on another learning rampage of sorts, you know, because I really enjoyed like doing this Series 65 and the Series 3. Like I felt good about it. It's like to accomplish and finish things like that. I feel good. So maybe I should be going down the LEET code rabbit hole, competitive programming. And I've kind of found that Rust isn't good for that. It's just not. So I should do C. I should just learn C. I've done C++, but I've never really done very much in C. So I should just do C. What if the them finally actually succeeded a bit? They planted the ultimate seed of distrust and hatred into the American people, and it worked well. So I don't. You know what? I really do think that what happened here was that Epstein and Ghislaine were kind of running this thing where they would get young underage girls because Epstein liked them and having parties, and that those two were the only ones that were really doing something that like you could really effectively prosecute. Because of course, if somebody had intercourse with a minor, that is a crime, but that's like a he said, she said thing. You can't prove that, right? And so I really do think that they prosecuted everybody that they really have the evidence and the ability to prosecute in a court of law. And that when the documents come out, that there's not going to be anything consequential there. They will probably generate plenty of internet discussion and things for people to talk about, but I don't think that it will result in any more legal action. And I'm not convinced that this is all part of some larger, you know, control the world scheme, conspiracy theory stuff, you know? You say competitive programming, I'm thinking about Gennady Horovich, True Genius. I don't know a whole lot about that world, so. I mean, part of the thing is are there really even events here in Salt Lake that aren't like attached to the university? for me to go to and get involved in. One of the things that's been going on in my job search, and maybe it's just because it's like DevOps and SRE jobs, but I do not get a lot of really technical stuff. It's really funny. If I'm doing an interview and it's a white guy, then I know that they're just going to ask me about my experience. Okay, you say that you have experience in this tool. What have you done with this tool? And then you tell them enough to prove that you actually did something with that tool, and they're satisfied. And that's all the interview is. Whereas if it's an Indian guy, it's going to be an escalating quiz to see how many obscure features about those particular technologies that you're aware of. Right? They turn it into like a test to see how much trivia you've memorized, and not things that are actually like involved in using the technology, right? But I have not really been given like pure code challenges, like do elite code medium or something like that. Maybe if I was interviewing for Google, because they like to do that sort of stuff, right? But I kind of feel that for this kind of job, like for DevOps and SRE, that I would probably be doing better if I was being given more coding challenges, So, not the trivia ones, because those ones I feel like is like just designed to fail people. It's like it's random as to whether or not you knew about that niche thing, and that's useless. But if it's like a elite code challenge, I think I could be really good at those. And I've never really dived really super deep into like the dynamic programming and the different types of problems that there are and everything. But if I went and I did one of these courses and stuff, I think I could be really good at it. Those were things that I was always excelled at. I mean, ultimately, the thing that I think I do well compared to other programmers is I seem to have an understanding of the technologies to see where the edges of it are, and taking the technology well beyond what it was intended to do. I'm always thinking, okay, what was this built for? And what is the sort of thing that they didn't really think that it could do, but maybe it could do? Like almost all of my indicators in NinjaTrader have that in them to some degree. You might not be noticeable, but they're in there. That's the thing that I'm good at. And so I think that would make me good at competitive programming, even though I've never done it, so we'll see. There's like a little bit of dust on the microphone. I don't know where that came from. I think software patterns are, well, there's really like 30 different types of leak code questions. So if you've studied, my understanding of it is if you've studied leak code like that, you get to the point where no matter what it is, you immediately know what to do. Right? Now, if I was doing it all in C, that gets even more impressive, because there's all of the tiny little nuances of C that you can know that are really impressive. And I'm into that sort of thing, so why am I not grinding hard on leak code and grinding hard on quant kind of quiz sort of things, and then go and interview for Jane Street? You know? I think I'm good at those sorts of things. Well, because I don't want to live in New York. The Texas Stock Exchange is starting up. They're super small. As far as I can see, they just have a super tiny team and everything. But at some point, they'll have openings, and I will work for the Texas Stock Exchange. And I can live in... I could probably convince my wife to move to Dallas. I don't think I could convince my wife to move to New York, but if it was Dallas, I think she would be down. Oh my gosh, you know what? We're doing all that yapping, and I totally forgot about the University of Michigan. Sure. Oh, you know what? Because I reloaded that tab and didn't start the news squawk again. Okay, so what did we get? Sentiments slightly better than expected, 51 versus 56. 5-year inflation less than expected, 3.4 versus 3.6. And 1 year less than expected, 4.5 versus 4.7. So I'd say that that's kind of all good news, but there was not any reaction at all to that. So we'll just chill for an hour. I think what is easy to program is a news in what would you want in a news indicator in NinjaTrader? That gives you pop-up notification. Oh yeah, I could totally do that. Well, I already have a news indicator that puts it on the chart. So we could add to it pop-ups for sure. Easy peasy. I had some issues with it because the news source that I used to pull the news, because there's a file for like the whole year's worth of news, right? You know, every once in a while there's stuff that's not in there. You know, there's little nuance issues and stuff, but which when we get to the start of the year, I will need to update that file. Put it on the website. Yeah, and unfortunately, I just didn't put it on this one with this chart for volatility because this was more for testing, I guess. Did I put it on this one? I thought I had it on one of these, but maybe not. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Do you think, by the way, this market order imbalance thing has been going a lot better? Interesting, a big, like usually when it's like a big imbalance like that, you can fade it, but here's one where it followed through. You can make a URL for buy me a calf. Oh yeah, you know, I haven't heard it. I have not tried using that. I guess, because I've heard of it before. Who was it that was using that? Was it the Primogen? I can't remember. Somebody I saw on YouTube was using that, right? But all it is just like tip somebody $5 or something like that, right? Why? What would be the advantage of using buy me a coffee versus just tipping on YouTube? Honestly, the big one, oh, you know, I keep forgetting to do this, but one of the things I was thinking about was, you know, during the period where I think the YouTube stream was the largest, and I really do think that a lot of why it's kind of come back down from that was that the introduction of, well, not the introduction, but the pandemic and streaming taking off during the pandemic caused a lot of other people to start streaming. So there's just more competition. And now we're competing like with Ninja Trader themselves, right? And so that's why I think that numbers are not as big as they used to be. But during that period when they were really good, we put a lot of effort into liking the video. You know what I mean? Like right now there's only 1 like on the stream, but we used to get to 12 likes every day. So I keep saying we need to focus on the, you know, getting more likes, and that'll grow the stream. Apol was the one that, thank you, Apol. You're the best. You're the best. One of the things that kind of bothers me is like, well, no, you know what? It doesn't bother me, but something that has happened is, did you guys see all these people complaining that like their views went down? Like YouTube changed what counted as a view, and all of their metrics and everything changed, and people were still making the same amount, but like all of their analytics were wrong. And I think that could be going on with YouTube. Like right now it says that there's 8, and I think that normally it would say that there's 12. So maybe those 4 viewers that it was giving us were never real to begin with. That was just like one browser counted as 2 for some mistaken reason or something like that, right? And how much does the number of likes affect the video recommendation algorithm? Because I tell you what, if I go and I search for like day trading live streams, the streams that I get are like, why is that getting recommended over me? Like streams, there are streams that are like huge that there's not even anybody talking. There's like there's no reason for anybody to be on the live stream because it's not a real live stream. Like, what's with that? Why does it recommend those ones? Well, maybe it's because we stopped focusing on likes as much, and we need to click the like button, and you need to click the little heart, you know, every time. Click the 100% thing in the lower right, and that'll boost the stream. We can do that for the next hour. There you go. Yeah, you just keep clicking that heart or that 100% all day. You see, this is where, again, though, I'm getting back to like, I wish that YouTube had more options for audience interaction. You know, because I'm not going to sit there and just click that heart button all day. You know, that seems boring to me. But if there were things that you could do that were more engaging than that and showed activity in the stream and that you could do to support the stream, I think that would be really useful, you know. Anyways, we'll see. Okay, well, you guys did like, we got 4 likes now, so we'll see if that sends some more people our way. There's also this thing that, like, you know, we shortened the stream. You could definitely see the shorter stream in some of the metrics, like, well, like even in revenue. You know, it was like $10 less in revenue or something like that, which was kind of surprising to me. But it's hard for me to know, like, was that really because we shortened the stream, or is this because of these other changes? But I think it was because we shortened the stream. Let's see here. On a small side, everything's down and bad. Not as much free spending money. Retail trading is probably also not growing at all. Probably shrinking even. Oh, yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah. Well, I do think, so for starters, that the whole GameStop thing, that there's probably less retail traders now than there was then, you know. Actually, let's come and try and take a look at that. Trends. .google.com. You know, and I am concerned that the number of people searching for stuff about futures specifically is going to decline when they change the pattern day trader rule. Like the TWB Bookmaps stream, I swear he used to have daily 1,000 constant viewers on NQ always every day. Now he's sitting at 400-ish on. Oh, really? Yeah, okay. Okay, so we don't want to know the past day. We want to know the past 5 years. Yeah. Oh, but there has been a spike. When was this spike? July. Well, that doesn't make much sense to me. But I guess there was a spike. But no, it was like 2020 and then definitely during the GameStop thing, and then like everything shifted after that. But basically, that brief period where everybody was super interested in day trading kind of really hurt the day trading creator industry, if you will, because there's more competition and less viewers than there was. Well, I'd say there's probably equal number of viewers as there was from before 2020, but there's more creators for sure. Like, man, when I started this, I was literally like the only person doing it. It really started out as I was like one of the only ones, especially live streaming it. I'm sure that I wasn't the only one, and I just was not aware of all of them, but I'm definitely like OG, right? That's interesting. There's more interest in day trading in California than there is in New York. Okay. I guess it would make sense that there would be people on the East Coast that would want to day trade because they can wake up super early. The mix of the economy sucking, plus a lot of real people are seeing this circle jerk of AI crap markets seem like chaos because of the GameStop and Reddit nonsense. I feel it built the gate up as the gate as in the gatekeeping trading. I don't know, cause like the funny thing about it was that all of these people came into day trading, and none of them learned anything. You know, because like basically everything that they were taught was junk. So when we go into order flow. Price action. Price action has always been... actually, it says that going back to 2020, that price action was more popular than order flow. And that there's been brief increases in price action recently. That I don't think that that's right. Maybe we just search ICT. Come on, that's got to be bigger. Yeah, okay, sure. So can you see, like, ICT got really popular after the pandemic, and then earlier this year, it started to get really insanely popular, and then it's, like, completely collapsed. And I think that the way that this chart is going to go is you're going to see order flow start jumping over it. I wonder if maybe I need to not have a space. No, that's even less. And the poly markets trading is hard gambling, as they say, so why not just go to actual gambling? It's crazy to me how those are just legal open gambling. Well, I mean, what's your definition of gambling? I think that gambling is a game of chance that offers no benefit to society and simply deprives the player of money in the long run. So when you go to Vegas, that is gambling. All it does is you lose money and it provides no, benefit. If you go and you're doing event betting, well, that provides a benefit to society because we get metrics about what people think about the probability of certain events happening. Right? And it's not something that you just strictly lose money off of. It should be, if it truly is random, then you should, win sometimes and lose sometimes. I don't know. Like, it should all work out in the long run, and maybe you're just going to lose commissions from it, right? So not something that is like the house is stacked against you and like the whole game is based off of that, I mean, in some respects in the markets, the house is stacked against you, but it's more structurally. Don't forget the hardcore mentally stimulating feelings that gambling brings. There's no such mental things behind it as well, other than just the money risk. But, basically the difference is that there's some sort of moral component of it, right? That's gambling to most people means that there's something morally deprived about it. And I don't agree when it comes to prediction markets. I saw on TikTok yesterday, apparently Google has made a deal with Kalshi. So those guys are going somewhere. They're getting better. It's kind of weird that Poly Market is still bigger or more well known because Kalshi seems to be making big inroads into becoming a legit prediction exchange. But this girl on TikTok was so upset about it. She's so mad they would have prediction markets and that Google would participate in that. But it's good. It's good to have them, especially what you can get specific events that you can't get exposure to in any other way that will affect real businesses so that they can hedge against them. Yeah, you guys are still clicking that button. I'm loving it. Well, let's come in here and see if Zero Hedge has some stories about the data that we got. A number of big cards have been turned over this week. Goldman's hedge fund honcho sees some elements of capitulation. I think that might be. Regime change in Kiev. U.S. peace plan demands Ukraine hold rapid elections after signing. Oh boy. Trump to meet with Mandami at White House. Yeah, you know what? Is it really going to be like he gets in making all of these promises, and then as soon as he gets in, the smart people tell him how it is, and he goes and he runs with it and ends up not doing any of the things that he promised? That would be really funny to me if that's what happened with Mondame. But I actually think that could be a likely outcome, because it just seems to me like he is, you know, a 30-something-year-old that doesn't really know a whole lot about the world. And he only believes the things that he does because he just doesn't know any better. And once you get into a position of power like that, there's lots of people there to help educate you, you know? He's all right. Got his foot in the door as a career politician. He's around for life now? Oh, I wouldn't say that. You can definitely screw it up, right? You come in and you actually do all of these things that you want to do in regards to housing and so forth, like new laws that basically take properties away from landlords and stuff, and it results in the housing situation in New York getting worse. He will become anathema. Nobody will want to have anything to do with him again. Or he could just make a really dumb mistake that ends his career. That's also a very likely scenario. That he is going to be less experienced and more prone to making a big gaffe. He already did some during the campaign in regards to like 9/11 and Muslim stuff. Very possible that he could end up saying something that so many people in the United States are offended by it that he's just done. So I wouldn't say that, but something that I find happens a lot, and it's usually not on this same level, because in Utah we don't have socialists like that, right? But there's plenty of people on the Republican side that just kind of have ideas about the way that government works, especially on a local level, that they really don't know what's going on. And what always happens is people will vote those people in, and then that person will not end up doing any of the things that they promised, because once they get in, they realize how dumb they are. They realize that they didn't know anything, and that all of those promises were really bad or unrealistic. You'll see it because, like, when they run for their second term, you know, and they're having these discussions with people, then they'll kind of explain why, well, we want to do this, but here's all the things preventing us from doing it. All of a sudden, they're talking more about the reality rather than the dreams that they want. And, you know, when it comes to Congress, I kind of think that, especially when you're in the House of Representatives, that you can kind of stay in that dream world. But I really don't think you can when you're mayor or governor, you know? Like those executive positions. You watch. You know what? I actually, the more that I think about it, I don't know if it's going to be like a full turnaround. Probably he continues to be a democratic socialist and everything. But I bet you that next time around when he runs again, that all of the people on Reddit are going to be like, screw Mom Dami. He didn't do any of the things that he promised, and they'll be really sour. They'll really sour on him. You watch. Amazon sending 1.5 billion in automatic refunds to customers. Oh, I wish I got a refund. Probably I won't. I still see room for a further adjustment in the near term to the target range for the federal funds rate, says Williams. Well, I guess we got 30 minutes, but, you know, like, kind of seems to me that it's like after we leave that everything starts happening to the indexes, right? Stratospheric warming sparks. Goldman warning of looming U.S. I'm telling you guys, this winter is going to be crazy. Everything that I'm always kind of like the weather. And I've recently found people on YouTube that talk about the weather in like really deep terms. So I'm not an expert in it, and I'm just repeating what they've said. But for some parts of the United States, especially like Great Lakes kind of region, Northeast, it's going to be a crazy winter. Ryan is one of them, actually, yes. Actually, let's come and look at my YouTube page. What shows up on Seth's YouTube? Well, this is the speculator stuff. I have to change it to... This is the one that I've used. Cool. It does recommend I watch myself. That's good. Yeah, Ryan Hall is definitely one of them. But there's also at least two guys that are more specifically about the weather at the ski resorts, and they give a weather forecast for all of the specific ski resorts, and they are very focused on like what that season is going to be. Although I think Ryan Hall is better at that kind of stuff. 65 plus free audio plugins to jumpstart your next project. Oh, I'm gonna have to listen to that. I'm gonna have to watch the new Skrillex video. So usually Fridays is when you get all of the videos. John Semet has a Silence remix? What? Dimension remix? One Punch Man season 3. Dude, I've gotten back onto One Punch Man talk because the new season of One Punch Man has been terrible. I don't know if I'm too interested in that Res one. I turned on Ryan Hall, y'all, Tornado Live broadcast Storm Chase to learn that a Category 6 tornado was 3 minutes from me. Then I got hit by the most hardcore storm I've ever driven through. It happened just months ago during tornado season. It almost got me with that one. Oh, wow. You know, one time we were driving in the middle of nowhere in Missouri, and it started to rain really hard. So much so that we decided to just kind of like pull over. And I remember it was kind of in a strange place where we were like in the middle of some vegetation of some sort. And you just couldn't see anything, right? Because it was raining and hailing so hard. And then it passed and we kept driving to the place. And when we got there, the people were all like, oh man, we were so worried that you were in the tornado. And we're like, nah, everything's fine. But then I come home and I'm watching all of these videos about tornadoes and things like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, no. I was in an F1 tornado. That was an F1 tornado that went literally right in front of us in our car, and we just couldn't see it because there was so much hail. So stupid back then. Anyways, I'm not getting any of the weather stuff though. I have to watch one. I probably haven't watched him this week, and so it thinks I'm not into it. Gemini got beat already. Oh, you know what, Theo, this guy right here, in the programming world. Because if I go on to like the Primogens subreddit, there's so many people that just like hate him. And I was kind of like, at first I was like, let's give this guy a chance. He's doing different stuff, but it's okay and whatever. And I've watched some of his videos on startup kind of stuff, and I really liked it because he understands the startup world really, really well. But every time that anything happens in AI, He has a clickbait video like this, and I just cannot stand it. I cannot stand it, Theo. Stop it. Stop it. Con controller. That would be interesting. I don't see why that's different, though. I've seen controllers like that before. Man, there's not... You know what? YouTube is just not as interesting as it used to be. It used to be that would come in. Okay, sub-focus. We won't listen to that. It used to be, especially on a Friday, that I would come through and have, like, 20 different videos to watch, and it would keep me going all day. What? Unity X Epic Games announcement? What? Unity Epic Games today announced they are working together to bring Unity games into Fortnite, creating more opportunity and value for players and developers. Developers will have the ability to publish Unity games into Fortnite, one of the world's largest gaming ecosystems. Oh, okay. So it's not combining the engines or anything, but games made in Unity can be sold on Fortnite. And oh, okay. So what's really going on is Epic is abandoning their e-commerce platform and adopting Unity's. Smart. I watched a Minecraft video yesterday. Now it thinks you got to be. There are some subjects where like they're a popular subject, so you might occasionally run into it and watch a video on it. And if you watch the video and you watch the whole video, then it sticks you in the algorithm, and that's like your whole front page, man. I'm not getting any weather people, though. iLoud sub. Still get this thing where like what are high-end studio monitors built to utilize a sub? Because when I look at really, really nice big ones, they have the sub built in. What's your take on Candace? And I am so sick of Candace. Dude, like when it used to be, yeah, I'd see Candace and I didn't like her, but I still was interested to know what she was saying. But after she went full on anti-Semitism with the whole Charlie Kirk story, I'm so done with her. I heard, I didn't see the videos, but I saw videos commenting about the videos on TikTok. How her latest thing was going on about the Mormon infiltration of government. I was just like, God, give me a break. So what happens is the CIA and the FBI recruit very heavily at the University of Utah and BYU because they need people that won't be or less likely to be compromised by like having a sexual fling or something like that, right? So they like people that are like a family man and high integrity and stuff. So you end up with a lot of Mormon people in government, and people have turned it into a conspiracy theory. And it makes me mad. So I've always been skeptical of Candace because she started out trying to be like a full-on hardcore lefty influencer. And then when she didn't have any traction with that, she switched over to being a conservative commentator. And every time that she dives a little bit into conspiracy theory territory and she has success with it, she leans into it harder. So I really honestly don't believe that she believes any of the crap that she's spewing, and she's just knows that the conspiracy theory stuff gives her views. That's what I think of Candace Owens. Yeah, I live in Utah, so I'm a Mormon. But that's what happens. It was kind of, it's a little frustrating to me after, because there was that shooting. There was that shooting at the LDS church where this guy was just obsessed with the Mormons and went and shot up a church. And we didn't get more info about where he came from, but it kind of sounded like he was kind of more fundamentalist Christian kind of guy. And that's probably why they quieted it down. But, it's frustrating. Any other group, you talk about them and you denigrate them, and everybody is like, that's discrimination. We don't allow anti-Semitism. This kind of discussion is absolutely inappropriate. But you can say literally anything you want about Mormons and nobody says a thing. Because that sort of thing that Candace Owen is spewing, that's stuff that like literally increases the chances of a shooting like that happening again. Like it plays into that crap. Not okay. It's not okay. I'm going to hunt down them CIA recruiters and get myself recruited. Shit. You know what? I think I've gone on their website a few times, and it just really seemed to me that, like, if you're a 40-year-old, that they're probably not going to pull you over. That's not how they work, but. It's kind of interesting to me. I didn't really realize it, and it's become more and more aggressive. But like right now in the corporate world, this is just talking about the CIA thing, right? In the corporate world, like, job security is dead. I don't think anybody in the corporate world feels like that their job is safe anymore. It used to be, well, I do my job, I'm a good worker, and so they're gonna lay off the bad workers. And then it kind of turned into, well, you have to be in a revenue generating segment. Like, you need to be in a section of the company that isn't gonna be let go, And nobody has any such illusions anymore. Or I think everybody in the corporate world understands that your job can just go away. And people in government do not understand this at all. I mean, politicians, that's a different thing, because if they don't get reelected, okay? But like, if you're a judge, judges don't worry about being laid off. Once you're in, you're in. And a lot of government agencies like this, the CIA and FBI kind of work like that too. It's like you get in, it's a career job, and they don't do layoffs and at the FBI or CIA. I don't think I would ever work for the CIA, but you know, they have an office in Utah. They need site reliability engineering. I would totally do it, but I wouldn't be one of those people that, you know, has to go and live in a foreign country for a while or any of that. That just reminds me of that headline last week that, like, they found out that there are Chinese saboteurs or whatever that would target big tech workers to steal technology and go as far as literally marrying them to be able to get access to the information and give it to China. Holy crap. Kind of how it always was. There were layoffs in cowboy times too. Just internet bought us all info together, and now we know how fragile everything is. And maybe, you know, when I think about how bad the economy is right now, it's by many measures really good, you know. And how bad does it have to get for me before it's like, you know, at recession or depression levels? Well, in the Depression, there was a very large group of people that were literally couldn't own a home and lived in shanty towns for years, you know? So that's not happening yet. But there are a lot of people living in cars in California, in the high cost of living areas. It's happening, I guess. I wonder how bad it would have to get for me to be like lose the house. But I'm not going to think about it. I don't know, because there's this whole thing that's like, how bad does that have to get before like something breaks? But I'm even after all this craziness this past week, I'm not sure that we're gonna get there. I think that it's gonna kind of be iffy, but that the economy will live. Saul announces run for California governor. Good luck with that. Elon Musk, for the record, I am a fat retard. Oh my gosh. The next generation of software developers will be architects. I would like to read that. Well, I don't know what I was expecting, but the S&P 500 has kind of didn't really do anything all that interesting, did it? And it's time to get going, so I don't know. We'll see what I'm surely there will be a lot of volume on the close. Monday, Tuesday, when you get the gamma unclench is going to be really interesting. So we'll just see what happens, but it's time for me to get going. So I will see you guys next week. By the way, thank you everybody for the likes and keeping up on that. I don't know if it helped or not, but we'll try. Remind me on Monday. Maybe if we start at the very beginning of the stream, then it will really help. We'll see. All right, so I'll see you guys then Monday. In the meantime, stay excellent.